Okay, so for the reading today, I think I'm going to keep it simple. Keep it simple. My beautiful bookmark, a feather, a butterfly, and the blue glass. It was something so amazing from yesterday. Okay, this is called Thinking Fourth Dimensionally. It's from Out of This World. I got the Neville Goddard collection. Some of it's pretty heady, but we're going to read this front part. Okay, chapter 1, Thinking Fourth Dimensionally. And the Bible quote is, "And now I have told you before it comes to pass, that when it has come to pass, you might believe." For some reason, Christians are always applying that to the coming of Jesus, but it's literally just saying what you believe will pass, right? And now I've told you before it come to pass, that when it comes to pass, you might believe. If you apply that to the art of deliberate creation, it would mean that if you create something and it comes, then you start to believe and realize that this is real. Many persons, myself included, have observed events before they occurred. That is, before they occurred in this world of 3 dimensions. Since man can observe an event before it occurs in the 3 dimensions of space, life on Earth must proceed according to plan. And this plan must exist elsewhere in another dimension and be slowly moving through our space. If the occurring events were not in this world when they were observed, then to be perfectly logical, they must have been out of this world. And whatever is there to be seen before it occurs, here must be predetermined from the point of view of man awake in a 3-dimensional world. Thus the question arises, are we able to alter our future? My object in writing these pages is to indicate possibilities inherent in man, to show that man can alter his future, but thus altered, it forms again a deterministic sequence starting from the point of interference, a future that will be consistent with the alteration. So yes, you can alter your future, is what he's saying. The most remarkable feature of man's future is its flexibility. It is determined by his attitudes rather than by his acts. The cornerstone on which all things are based is man's concept of himself. He acts as he does and has the experiences that he does because his concept of himself is what it is and for no other reason. Had he a different concept of self, he would act differently. A change of concept of self automatically alters his future, and a change in any term of his future series of experiences reciprocally alters his concept of self. So we have a set future with the idea of ourself, but the more our idea of ourself changes, the more our future changes. And I've personally experienced that when I was an addict and thought I was sick and would never be well and was caught up in a lot of negative vibration stuff. You know, I ended up drugged, raped, found in my car, charged with a DUI. I found myself homeless, 100 pounds heavier, right? Broken leg for 6 months. Like, it couldn't really have gotten a whole lot worse of what was going on in my life, because that was the concept of self I had. I believed I deserved to be punished. I believed I was a bad person. And the more I got away from that, and the more well I got, and the more I shifted, I remembered who I was, and I remembered I could have a bright future, and I could have a normal future, and I started to live into that. And I mean, I'm unrecognizable from who I was then. My future is completely unrecognizable from what you would have thought would be possible for me then. Man's assumptions, which he regards as insignificant, produce effects that are considerable. Therefore, man should revise his estimate of an assumption and recognize its creative power. All changes take place in consciousness. The future, although prepared in every detail in advance, has several outcomes. At every moment of our lives, we have before us the choice of which of several futures we will choose. There are 2 actual outlooks on the world possessed by everyone, a natural focus and a spiritual focus. The ancient teachers called the one the carnal mind and the other the mind of Christ. So a lot of people don't realize when it talks about Christ's second coming, Christ is oneness with yourself, with God perspective. And so a second coming will be us remembering who we are inside, not an outside savior coming back. We may differentiate them as ordinary waking consciousness governed by our senses and a controlled imagination governed by desire. It's exactly what Abraham's talking about. Conditional living is focusing on your senses and what's happening in front of you. Unconditional living and deliberate living with a deliberate intention is controlling your imagination based on what you want and focusing there. We recognize these two distinct centers of thought in the statement, "The natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, for they are spiritually discerned." 1 Corinthians 2:14. The natural view confines reality to the moment called now. To the natural view, the past and future are purely imaginary. The spiritual view, on the other hand, sees the contents of time. This would be your inner being's view. It sees events as distinct and separated as objects in space. The past and future are a present whole to the spiritual view. What is mental and subjective to the natural man is concrete and objective to the spiritual man. The habit of seeing only that which our senses permit renders us totally blind to what we otherwise could see. To cultivate the faculty of seeing the invisible, we should often deliberately disentangle our minds from the evidence of the senses and focus our attention on an invisible state, mentally feeling it and sensing it until it has all the distinctness of reality. Earnest, concentrated thought focused in a particular direction shuts out other sensations and causes them to disappear. We have but to concentrate on the state desired in order to see it. The habit of withdrawing attention from the region of sensation and concentrating it on the invisible develops our spiritual outlook and enables us to penetrate beyond the world of sense and to see that which is invisible. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. Romans 1:20. Pretty amazing that this is so pretty much exactly what we see with Abraham's work. It's pretty amazing. Written long before. It goes along with this too, but today we're just gonna do the one reading rather than a bunch. Thanks.